Now we're going.
Okay.
Liz Zagone.
Zagone. Yeah.
I assumed it was silent at the end, but okay. Liz Zagone. I've been saying it wrong in my head. I haven't said it to anybody.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't. It probably the American is like Zagone, but we just say Zagone because it's more fun.
Super Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You're welcome anytime. Just drop in. I mean, Kelvin's so late, so frequently. Just if you come by, we'll probably be either about to do one or doing one.
Okay.
I literally saw him earlier. I told him this was at noon, so that it's 2 right now. I told him it was at noon, so we would do it on time. I went to go get coffee down the street. This is an hour after the fact. I was like, he'll be about an hour late. That's generally how it happens. Mm-hmm. I see him driving towards his apartment, and I'm like, oh, cool. I'll just follow him there. He does a U-turn and starts driving the other, other way.
Where was he going?
I don't know. But pretty standard. I was like, oh, cool. We're both on the same schedule. He's an hour late. I planned on that. I'll just follow him. Slow motion gone.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's how this operates.
Nice. Professional. I love it.
It's about as unprofessional as it gets. He goes, I'm really hungover today. I'm like, just please be somewhere near on time.
2 hours. That's in the.
That's how we do it.
Yeah.
I've last week I scheduled with him, or 2 weeks ago, I scheduled with him at like 3 to do it. I was like, we have to start recording at 3. Mm-hmm. And I just know how he works. I went to the gym at 3, and we started recording at 4:30, and that was fun. That was what I told the guest.
Yeah.
So
I think as long as you plan for it, that's.
Well, the problem is when you lied. Also, the problem is that he's listening to all of this right now.
Yeah, he's
so
giving us
knows,
some looks.
Yeah. Well, no, but he knows that I'm lying to him, and I just hope that he doesn't fully process that it's an hour and a half behind. Because I'm gonna have to start telling him we're recording at 6 a.m. because he's so used to being late.
Yeah, his clock will be like, oh.
It's the boy who cried wolf for being late. I mean, there will be a point where I'm like, we got to record at 4 a.m. because we have to record at 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Because he's that late. Yeah. People who listen, actually your cousin commented, he created a hashtag, when will Kelvin be on time?
That's funny.
But it's great to have you here. It all worked out.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
We were just talking about differences between Chicago and LA.
Yeah.
Someone in the room just asked about agents. Do we have agents?
Do you have an agent?
The only agent that I have at the moment is I have a casino booking agent.
Nice.
For doing casinos. Yeah, it's something. I mean,
is that good money?
It can be good money. I mean, like if it's within driving distance and it's not that far away, I can get $500 for a weekend of featuring. That's not horrible.
Nice.
You get put up in a casino.
That's fun.
Meal tickets. Usually it's enough to like eat once a day at the buffet.
The life of luxury.
It's really, I have to like time it out. So it's like, okay, I'll wake up late, maybe like not eat for a while. And then at 4 p.m. eat all of my food for the whole day.
Like a snake meal.
Yeah. And then I won't be too full at the shows. And then I'll have enough that I can get through the shows.
Yeah. Maybe take some like cracker packets and put them in your pocket. Yeah.
Free Red Bulls in the green room.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, no, it does not pay that well.
Okay.
But I've done that for him. I actually went to New Mexico this is the worst booking I've ever said yes to. Mm-hmm. He was like, I want you to do the show in New Mexico, casinos. And I was just like, hey, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. I want to do shows. He's like, you have to drive the headliner from LA.
Okay.
13 hours.
Oh.
And it's a very long story that I've actually told before on this, but while we were there, I just got a new used car, got new tires put on, and they didn't put them on all the way. One of the tires fell off in New Mexico. The AAA guy who came to fix it was drunk.
Oh my God.
Because it's New Mexico.
It is New Mexico, yeah.
The guy, I had just watched the Jeffrey Dahmer stuff. Uh-huh. And he had every personality trait of Dahmer. He was just he was like, what, he's like, do you want me to lift it up? Or if I don't, it'll scrape the bottom of the car. I'm like, then do whatever doesn't scrape the car. He's like, yeah, I could just drag it right here, but it'll ruin the car. I'm like, don't ruin it.
He's like, did you want to keep this, or we could just leave it on the side of the road and I'll give you a ride?
Beer on his breath.
Oh my God.
Fully autistic. It's just like terrifying.
Wow.
Telling his jokes about ruining my car. I was like, please just tow it safely anywhere. So that was for this booker. And and as that's happening, this is how bad this booker is. Booking agent, whatever you want to call him. He does USO shows too, which I would love to do. He's never booked me for that. That would be cool.
What is that? Is that like on the ships?
Go perform for the military. Could be like naval ships, but I think it's mostly in like you go to Afghanistan or wherever people are stationed. Overseas. That's what they say, right? For like 6 months sometimes.
Wow.
And you can get like a nice check, and obviously everything's taken care of when you're there.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Do you have to like sleep in a tent?
Good question. I think you probably sleep wherever they sleep, which could be a tent.
Do they sleep? I have no idea what goes on overseas.
Is
there a war going on? I have no idea.
Currently, I don't know.
We're not in like Russia or anything, right?
I don't know. Yeah, but USO shows might be like that, though. You might go to Ukraine. I've heard stories about people like flying from one show to another while they're overseas, and people are shooting at them, and then the pilot like guns someone, and it's also you can do stand up.
You're like dating stuff, right?
And then you just have these visions of people dying.
Oh my God. Oh, well, I wish that for you, just so you can, and safely, so you can come back and tell me about it, because I don't
do that?
No, that's not for me. Anything that's maybe not even like in a nice hotel, I'm like,
Yeah. I just took one of those. I was in Tucson, and actually, I stayed at his cousin's place, which is funny. And then stayed at like a really bad motel where people were definitely cooking meth. Like I literally saw people going under a bridge and then underneath an overpass, and they were like looking back at me wearing masks. And if they're wearing masks in Arizona, it's not for COVID; it's for meth.
It is, yeah.
And that was like $50. I literally paid for the room, and then a woman with one tooth ran into the lobby and was like, "You guys got quarters?"
Which tooth did she have?
It was like one front tooth.
Oh man, that poor lady.
No, but it's like my card just ran, and then the lady's like, "What's up, guys?" I'm like, I shouldn't have paid for this.
Yeah.
I gotta find another motel.
That's rough.
That's not a good. And after the weekend was over, the headliner was like, "You could have stayed at the Comedy Condo." I'm like, first of all, that probably would have been a shit show, but why didn't you tell me at the beginning?
Like, why didn't you do that
he's
thing?
Like, you could have slept on the couch in this really bad situation we were in. And I'm like, it probably would have been better than the one-tooth meth lab I was in. Okay, but we were talking about agents. When did you move to LA? What has your experience been like?
I moved a little over a year ago, so like November of 2021. Yeah. Post-COVID. And I live with my sister, my older sister.
Yeah. Okay.
And she's a doctor, so she makes a lot more money than me. So
Good for you.
She pays like 3/4 of the rent. And it's
That's amazing.
I couldn't afford to live here. I'm like, how does anyone afford to live here?
Well, we don't know that much about each other. I live with my girlfriend in a bachelor apartment, which is just a room. People call it like, they're like, "Oh, what's your apartment like?" I'm like, it's a room. Mm-hmm. We live in a bedroom. People are like, how's your apartment? It's a bedroom. And we split it, and it costs nothing because it's rent controlled. There's literally a guy who lives next to us who collects cans.
Oh.
That's how rent controlled this place is. He's been there since like the 70s or something.
Yeah.
I bet he pays like $150 a month. He makes a yoke out of plastic bags at night and hobbles around and collects cans and pays the rent. Wow. And then floats face down in our pool that we have outside during the day, wearing a hat, wearing all of his clothing. People are like, "Oh, it's cool you have a pool." I'm like, "No, there's like a dead guy in it." It's not cool. Nobody wants to swim in there. There's literally a body with khakis on in the pool.
That sounds awful.
But the point is, that's how you live here.
Yeah.
You find a situation like that. That's the only way to do it. And you found a great situation. Your sister just happened to be in LA.
Yeah, she's been out here for like 5 years, maybe 6 years at this point. And so when actually I was dating a guy and I broke up with him, and he was like, "You keep talking about LA. If you don't move there now, you're never going to go. Like, you got to go while you're young and hot, or else you're never going to do it." And I was like, "Oh, you're right."
Also,
you think I'm beautiful? What? I would hope so. We dated for like a year. But he, yeah, so I was like, okay. And so my sister's like, you can live with me for the first like whatever, and I won't charge you rent for the first few months. And I was like, fantastic. Then I moved out here with my dog who, I don't know if you've ever heard my bit about like when you're dating someone, you don't find out they're crazy until it's too late.
No, but that sounds
That's my dog.
Interesting.
I was fostering
I thought
her.
you were talking about a person.
No. No, it'd be easier if I was talking about a person, because I was fostering my dog with my roommate at the time, and this dog is just like, we just like connected, and she's like so good. If she's with me, she's like the best dog in the world. And then if I go anywhere and like leave her with someone else, she like is sad and misses me. But then we moved, and so I decided to adopt her. We move, drive cross country, and it's like, okay, go in your crate. I'm going to go. And she was like, no, we're not, like, we're both going or nobody's going. And so she would like break out of her crate. She would, if I left her out, she would pee on the floor. It was like, it took probably like 9 months just to get to like a point where we could like manage her anxiety. We tried drugs. I tried 3 different dog trainers. I tried a hypnotist. I tried a Reiki healer. I didn't want to do I really hate like.
You did dog Reiki?
Yeah, that one. My sister tricked me into doing. She took me to like a crystal shop, and she was like, "Oh, we should get tuna healing." And I was like, "Okay," because my sister's also very generous. So she'll be like for my birthday, she took me to like the Korean spa and like paid for everything. Or she'll be like, "Oh, should we go get manicures? I'll pay." And I'm like, "Okay." She's like my little sugar sister.
Sounds pretty good.
It's great. So I was like, "Okay, yeah, we're gonna go get tuna Reiki healing." So I was like, "Whatever." Like, I'm open to trying anything at this point.
Well, we should explain what Reiki. Not everyone knows what Reiki is.
It's like you move your hand. You like move the energy with your hands, but you don't touch the person.
You know Kurt Metzger? He actually had a good bit about it.
No.
He said it's like, when you're 10 and you say, "I'm not touching you."
That's
it's
funny.
that, but for healing.
Yeah.
You're like this close, and supposedly that changes everything.
Yeah.
They're like, whoa, and then you're supposed to feel it, and they're doing that. Imagine a dog like this.
Well, my dog,
running their hands over the dog, right?
It's like the best part of pets without the best part of pet. It's like pretend to pet my dog.
Right.
So we were, so the lady's like, okay, like follow me. And we go in this little room, and I didn't know what to do. So I'm just like, we're sitting on the floor, and she's like, she can just sit however she's comfortable. And I was like, okay. And so I just like sat with my my legs crossed, and I was just like doing a little, I was like, should I close my eyes? Should I like meditate? I was like, had one eye open, and I was like, what's she even doing? But I just like sat there with my eyes closed. And like at one point I opened, and she'd be like arm above her head, just like, And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then at the end, she's like, okay, yeah, Tuna is upset that you didn't ask her before you moved. And I was like, I talked about it a lot before we moved. I may not have asked her permission, even though I control everything in her life already. Like I was like, are we going to go live in California? Yeah, we're going to go live in California.
I don't know if you need if this explanation is totally necessary. Newsflash. Tuna didn't ask that. That didn't happen. I don't think Tuna's asking anything except like, when can I eat?
She's like, why do you leave, Mom? Yeah. I just want to be with you.
Why do you leave? Can we hang out? Can we go outside?
Is it time for dinner again?
Is there food? I have to pee. It's not like, could you please explain to me why you moved? She doesn't know where you are.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it snow anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably what she's wondering.
Yeah. She, so yeah, we come out of the healing or whatever, and she's like, okay. And I'm going to give you my discount from November or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, okay, awesome. Thank you. And I'm looking at I'm looking around the crystal shop for my sister. My sister's just like smiling at me. And I'm like, bitch, I thought you were paying for this. It was like $150 for me to
insane. With the discount.
With the discount for someone to pretend to pet my dog.
Yeah.
And then because it was on an iPad and like they offer the tip, it's like working in the service industry. I'm like, I can't not tip. So I was like, here's $150 for fucking telling me my dog didn't like that we moved. I knew that.
Yeah. For reading my dog's mind.
Yeah.
That's like the most LA thing you could possibly do.
It is. I did it, and I was like, I am truly in LA now.
Yeah, you moved from Chicago. Like, kind of it's a mixture, but like kind of a blue collar city and like regular people, working people.
Yeah.
To LA, and then had someone pretend you paid.
I paid money. I paid hard
for someone to almost touch your dog.
Yeah. I worked hard for that money. I served drinks for that money. And
you work at Laurel. I mean, do you want to say? You don't have to say where you work, I guess, but you work at a bar.
I work at a bar. Yeah.
I want to tell this story, this thing that just happened to me yesterday. It's really fresh.
Yes.
But do you have any like anecdotes or anything that like stands out? It's LA. Did you work at bars in Chicago before?
Yeah.
Any juxtaposition? I mean, is there anything that's like what's happening here that isn't happening there and vice versa?
Yeah. So I feel like in Chicago I've worked in restaurants since I was like 15. So I've seen all of it. I used to work at like late night bars till 5 a.m. I
used to go out at late night bars in Chicago. That was fun.
Yeah. I used
4
to work
a.m. They don't have that here.
They really do. I'm like
that was I have
things close at like midnight.
I have good memories of like ending up with women who just like in the light of day, not in a million years would I be with this person. I'm in their house, you know.
Yeah. No, I did like late night bars. I did clubs. I did sports bars. I did like nicer restaurants, like not fine dining, but something, elevated. And then here I work at a place that's like more of a restaurant than a bar, but the bar is very busy because we have like a beautiful patio and like everyone goes to sit outside. And it's very like Instagrammable.
I've been.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say where.
Yeah.
But it's a nice place.
Yeah, it's super nice. And the I'd say the biggest difference is like, here's the thing. I also don't know how much of it is like Chicago versus LA or pre-COVID, post-COVID.
Okay.
Because I didn't work, like I worked in restaurants up through COVID where there were no bartending shifts. So I started serving again, which I haven't done since I was like 19.
Yeah.
And I was serving on like patios because everything had to be outside,
Yes.
And then I moved and it was like everyone still had masks on when I moved. Or the staff did, the guests didn't have to. And then slowly we lost the masks and it's like, we also are now cashless. And I'm like, is this a COVID thing? Is this like, cause no one pays with cash anymore because people weren't taking it.
Yeah, that's
because they were like
interesting.
dirty money.
Does that change the tips? Do you feel like that people tip more or less post cash?
I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, with cash, sometimes you'd get like $1 on a $47 tab when they paid cash.
It feels stupid to do that with the card.
Yeah, people still do it. There's always going to be bad tippers. There's no, I will shame you and I will look and I'll be like,
well, that's your livelihood. I mean, that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard because like nowadays, like everybody, like there's like tips for everything, like people have a big issue with like baristas,
totally.
And it's like, do you want to give me $3 for making your $5 cup of coffee? And it's like, well, not necessarily, but I'll throw you $1, I'll like
on
round
principle,
up.
I'm just not doing that.
Yeah.
I'll tip a bartender, of course. I tip a bartender for water.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you took time to get it.
Can I share with you something that angered me?
Sure.
Last weekend I went to...
This is what I want.
Yeah.
This is why I started this
fired up. You want to show you fired up. I went to go support a friend's comedy show that he was producing. Okay. And it was at the Virgil. Mm-hmm. And so I went and I wasn't drinking and I had a show that I was getting to. So I like had to leave halfway through. And I asked in the bar, they have all these signs that's like, no cash, cards only, whatever. And I was like, can I just get a soda water? And I had thrown $3 in cash down on the bar. And she goes, we don't take cash. And I go, oh, okay. So I paid like $5 for a soda water. And I was like, I in my years and years of bartending, I've never charged someone for soda. I don't even charge people for soft drinks because I was like, it's literally more of a pain in the ass for me to run your card for $3.51 to maybe get $1 that I'm splitting 5 ways anyways. But I was like, this fucking bitch. Like,
no, it's kind of obnoxious. And also, who doesn't want the tip? Who doesn't want to just
right? Like, you could have just taken that $3 and like put it in your pocket
instead of making the Virgil $5. Who cares? And you're not going to tip after that because why would you?
Well, then it was the iPad.
You have empathy for those people, so you do tip. Yeah.
But it was the one
I wouldn't.
It was the one that was like 18%, 20. It wasn't the dollar amounts. It was the percentage. So I was like, yeah, I'll tip you 20% on this. And it was like, do you want to tip like
47
61 cents? Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you can have that 61
so
cents.
That's like a fuck you.
Yeah.
I would actually, it would have been great if you just took out 21 cents, put it down on the table. Yeah, that's good. And that is an LA thing. That happens at Flappers too. I'm like, hey, can I get a soda water? And they're like, yeah, that'll be $3. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get water in the back because I know where the water is.
Yeah.
You weirdo.
Yeah.
I'll just pretend I work here and go get water.
Just walk through the kitchen.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, feel free to jump in at any point because this is like one of the craziest things that's ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. It's fresh. It happened to me yesterday. I'll probably tell it again several times. I might be an LA douche and write a script about it. It's like that kind of thing.
Okay, I can't wait.
This could be this could change my life. Could also just be a very good story that doesn't do anything. That's possible too. Mm-hmm. It could have ruined my life. I could have died. All right, so. I applied for a job at Fogo de Chao. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of getting desperate. I'm like trying to save up a little bit of money right now because I'm sort of in between things. I'm trying to get a remote job and it's not really working. I'm also working. I'm selling things at the farmer's market right now.
Oh, vegetables?
No, I'm working for this Jamaican guy. I think he's Caribbean or something. Who sells the most bizarre combination of things. He sells fried chicken.
Okay.
Chicken and waffles with fried chicken,
Okay.
Sweet potato chips.
Okay.
And regular potato and beet chips.
Oh.
And vegan soups.
Okay. Now I see what you mean.
And what else does he sells other things too.
Like necklaces.
Basically. It's the kind of stand. It's the kind of stand where people walk up and they're like, "Oh, this is one stand." Everybody's always like, "Oh, can I order chicken?" I'm like, "It's all me. It all goes through me. We're the whole fucking stupid setup. We do it all." He literally puts rocks out and wheatgrass just for ornaments, and people are like, "I'll have a wheatgrass," and I go, "That's for show." And then he puts these rocks out, and I go, "Why do we do the rocks?" He goes, "That's my meditation." And I'm like, "You don't know what meditation. There's no way you know what meditation is, first of all, and that doesn't make any sense." So he's that kind of guy.
Okay, got it.
That's a job. I'm doing that tomorrow at 5 a.m. I get up at 5 to go do it in Santa Clarita. People tip me, and he goes, "No tips." It's the most bizarre. It's a crazy job. It's temporary. It's fine for now.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. I'm trying to find something that'll like get me some tips and maybe work better with stand-up stuff. I mean, if I have a show Friday night, I'm just not sleeping.
Yeah.
Right now.
Oof.
I'm going down to San Diego on the 8th to do shows, and I'm planning on just pretty much turning around and just being there at the market on Saturday. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. I might just quit before then.
You're crazy.
I might just call him like Friday night and like I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
I'm in San Diego. I can't do it. So
my car stopped and the tire.
I have no tire.
Yeah. This guy wants to drag it from San Diego to Santa Clarita.
And then there's a guy who asked me if I want to ruin my car for some reason. So I applied for a job as a server at Fogo de Chao, but I've also applied for like almost 1,000 jobs maybe in the last month. I'm just like content writing, SEO, serving, sales, whatever. I've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll find something that sticks. I want to find something remote, ideally.
Yeah.
But short term, I've been like, Fogo de Chao, fine. I'll just like make a little bit of money in the next 2 months. And then I get a message back on my phone saying, "Hey, you have a interview set up for 1 p.m. tomorrow at Fogo de Chao." Hey, cool. The quick turnaround.
Great.
Yeah. I applied the night before. I'm like, this is fast.
Yeah.
I show up for my interview. I was actually talking to someone on the phone when I got there, and I was like, "I'll be done in 15 minutes. I'll call you back."
Yeah.
I go in. I go to the host stand. There's this little Mexican woman who I could just tell was like not gonna be. She wasn't gonna be super helpful, but she was just like a little spaced out. And I was like, I have an interview, and she's like, and then she was already confused. And then this dude wearing like a sports jacket and a Google shirt who's eating lunch, set up to eat lunch
in
the restaurant, stands up and he goes, "Ben!"
Oh no.
Ben, come on, man. He's like jacked up out of his mind.
Yeah.
Take a seat. Come on. Comes up, he runs over, shakes my hand. I used to work as a personal trainer, and he reminds me of like these personal trainer sales kinds of people.
Yeah.
Who were just like, let's go, come on, yes. He's like, take a seat, dude. This is exciting, and I'm like, yeah, it is exciting. And I'm just like, this is my Fogo de Chao interview, and he pushes over a sheet.
Pile of cocaine.
No, it might as well have been. He pushes over this stamp, this like a check that he had.
Yeah.
And he goes, I made $150K last month. And I'm like, at Fogo de Chao. Really? They're like, this job is. He's like, I got us a bottle of wine. Have some. I'm like, this is the best interview I've ever had.
What?
He keeps saying my name. He goes, Ben, good to meet you, Ben. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, at Fogo de Chao, I guess they have these coasters that are red before you want to eat, and then green. You flip it to green when it's time to eat. Because it's all you can eat. They bring steak over.
Yeah, so they'll like keep bringing over the meats until you are like, stop.
And he goes, we're red right now. Green means go. You ready to go? Let's go. And I'm
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, yeah. He's like, and you can leave if you don't want the job. I'm like, no, let's eat. So we're slicing meat off of. He's like, I love lamb. Lamb's my favorite. I'm like, me too. We're eating lamb. We're eating steak. I'm drinking wine, and I'm just like, this is all for the waiter, John. and then he starts going like, he goes, so we spoke on the phone, and you've been working for this guy named Carl, and at this point I'm just like, yeah.
No. He has the wrong Ben.
What I was thinking is, I've applied for so many fucking jobs in the last month. This guy seems like he's a nutcase. Maybe he just thought he talked to me before, but also read my resume and wants me in here.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants me for this job, but just misremembered a conversation that we had at some point. Because I didn't talk to this guy, but he's out of his mind.
Yeah.
And I'm
he probably does this with everyone kind of thing.
Or it's like maybe he's fucked up remembering who people are because he's talking to so many people. He's doing cold calls. Who knows?
Yeah.
Also, I'm like, who doesn't want to make $150,000 in a month?
Yeah, that sounds great.
He's like, I got products for you. He slides over 3 Google Nests, which is like a thermostat by Google for your house. And he goes, keep these. And I'm like, okay.
You put them in your room.
I'm like, cool. He goes, I got hats. I got swag. Here's the brochure. He's like, we do heat. We do water. I'm like, this is great. And I'm realizing he works for Google. He does sales for Google. He thinks that I'm Ben. He may or may not think it's me. May or may not. I'm kind of laughing the whole time because he's such a salesy guy that he's never processing anything that I'm saying. He's like, how's work? And I'm like, good. He goes, what have you been doing up until now? I go, well, I was just doing sales for an SEO company and I was doing some content writing. And he goes, all right, good. It's just nonstop. The whole thing is nonstop. He keeps asking me questions. I can tell that they're not the exact answers that he wants. Yeah. But also, they're not the exact opposite of the answers.
They're not wrong answers.
None of it's wrong. He at the very beginning though, he did go, "How's the move?" And I go, "Move?" He goes, "You just moved to LA?" And I go, "No, I've been here for 5 years." He goes, "Okay." It just keeps operating like this. We're eating. We're talking about hunting. We're talking about. He goes. Yeah, we go on these corporate trips to play golf. He's like, I fucking hate it. I don't play golf often enough to be good. These guys want to stay on the course all day. They don't want to work. It's a waste of time. I could be making sales calls. And I'm like, yeah. That makes sense.
You're like, I also don't want to golf.
I'm not good at it because I don't play enough. I get it. And we've been talking about hunting and fishing. He fishes. He's from Hawaii originally. Now he lives in San Diego. Ooh. I go to San Diego. I know San Diego. We're talking about San Diego. And I'm like, you can't do the drive up on the weekends. He goes, yeah, I do it at night. I'm like, me too.
Wow.
And we were talking about golf, and I was like, you know what would make golf better? If you won at the end, they give you an elk. Like you get an animal. And he goes, yes, he's like fist bumping me. He's like, that's the funniest thing I've ever. I'm like, you're out of your mind. He's so excited. He's fist bumped me and shook my hand like 7 times during the conversation.
Yeah.
I went outside. People were calling me. I went outside and just like told a friend and my girlfriend during this that I'm in the middle of what I think is a job interview. I think it's probably for the wrong person, but no one has shown up yet. And I was like, what do you think I should do? And they're both like, stay. Why not? He's paying for food. Like, have a nice meal. Multiple glasses of wine, drinking. And the whole time he's just so amped, so excited to get me in. And then I go and sit down again. It's been over an hour.
Wow.
We've been talking for a very long time. He's telling me about his family. He's like, I got two kids, 2 boys, 5, 8, 2 different women. And he's like, it's always a girl. And I'm like, yeah, it is always a girl. We're getting along. Uh-huh. And then he gets this phone call and he goes, why are you calling me? And it says Ben Solomon.
Oh my God.
And I go, my name's Ben Herwitz. And he goes, holy shit. He didn't realize it's the wrong guy. Eventually Ben Solomon comes and sits down with us. It's all 3 of us. And the guy who's interviewing me, I still don't know his name. I'll never know his name. He goes, stay. It's funny. Stay. I'm like, this is getting too angry. Stay. No, it's funny. I'll pay. It's okay.
We're having a good time.
Yeah. No, stay. It's funny. Stay. And Ben Solomon's there. Ben's furious. The real Ben is the antithesis of me. This guy's got a Caesar haircut. He's got dark skin. He's covered in tattoos. You could not confuse us ever. And the guy who's been talking to me for over an hour now goes, well, I'm gonna have to do the whole sales pitch again, and you can stay and eat, but like I'm gonna have to do it. And I'm just like, I'm not staying for this. So I tell them, I'm like, I'm gonna figure out what was going on, because I had a meeting set up at 1. I don't even know who it was with at this point. And then what ends up happening is he's doing the sales pitch again to Ben Solomon. We've shifted the Google Nest and the hat over to Ben Solomon that was handed to me. Yeah. And I have one of the saddest interviews I've ever had for a job as a waiter at Fogo de Chao. The
Where
guy,
you're not going to make $150,000 in a month.
I'm not going to even make 150. This guy interviews me. He's a Portuguese guy who's like miserable. Most guys who manage restaurants are not happy.
Always, yeah.
I think he and the host, I think, know what happened because they've seen me come in, ask for the interview. They just watched it all happen. We sit down at the bar, and I'm like, that was crazy. And he goes, so what's your experience like? He did not want to talk about it. And he goes, we literally talked for less than 5 minutes, and he goes, I'll let you know. It's okay. You can go now. And so I probably didn't get this job because I just sat for an hour with some stranger and they watched me have lunch for free. And I confused the shit out of this sales guy who's like on fire with me, pitching really hard.
Oh, that's really funny.
Yeah. And that's all I get out of it. It's just, I mean, it's a good story for sure.
That story's worth it.
It's one of the best stories that's ever happened to me.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, and then actually what happened afterwards is I told him, I got off the phone quickly with my girlfriend, and I had to drive her to the airport, and I was like, I'll tell you the rest on the way to the airport. I was very excited to tell her the story.
Yeah.
And as we're driving, I'm like missing turns and like fucking things up, and she's like, "Are you drunk?" And I was drunk. She didn't want to hear any of the story. Because she's just like, I got to get to the fucking airport, man. And there's a drunk guy driving me to the airport. And I'm just like, and then he said this, and she's like, I don't care. I'm going to miss my flight. That was, so the crescendo was like, I'm driving a woman who's furious. And like, isn't this, and she's like, at this point, I don't care.
Yeah.
Cool.
She's like, now this affects me negatively.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your fun day is fucking up my flight.
Your restaurant interview that turned into
it's just a waste of a day.
Oh, wow. That is good.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe we'll post a clip and that's what I get out of it. You know? Yeah. It is a good story.
That's a great story.
And I'll end up being like a douche who's in Studio City writing a script about my interview.
The mishap at Fogo de Chao.
Where the guy literally said the name Ben 30 or 40 times. And I'm just like, it has to be for me.
You're like, that is me.
It's been over an hour. He said Ben 700 times. It's my interview.
Yeah.
And then Ben Solomon walks in furious.
I wonder if Ben Solomon took the job.
Part of me was like, maybe I should have stayed and hung out, but it was just getting too awkward.
Yeah.
I was ready to leave like at any moment the whole time.
Yeah.
What if something goes wrong? What if this guy shows up? And part of me was like, maybe I'll get the job.
Yeah.
Maybe this is my job.
I do have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. Yeah.
I've done sales.
Wow.
Not at a high level, but I can lie to this guy.
That's all sales is. It's literally just lying.
Well, that's what I did to him in person.
Yeah.
He would rattle off so many acronyms. He's like, yeah. And then the CRR comes in and he's like, we got a KY too. And I'm like, yeah, totally.
You're like, IKR. I know, right?
No, I know when that happens. That's brutal. Yeah, so that's what I did. That was yesterday. How are we doing?
Did you say that said that you're like the lamb's good or something?
Oh yeah. He was like, because we both agreed we would love lamb.
Mm-hmm.
And when he stood up to say hi to Ben Solomon, he was like, yeah, you got some lamb out of it, didn't you? Just like not happy.
Oh, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't just stay and smile like a doofus while these guys talk about something they actually know about.
Yeah.
I have to listen to an educated sales conversation, just be like, that was crazy, right? Where I'm just like taking meat.
You're like, can I get more? Here's my green.
Yeah, load it up. I'll take a rib. And the other funny thing was how pushy he was.
Yeah.
He was so adamant about, he's like, let's eat. Come on, man. Go to the salad bar. Enjoy it. And I'm just like, if you want me to, I will.
He didn't give you much of a choice anyway. Like, he bullied you into that interview.
He's like, have you ever had dragon fruit? They have dragon. I'm like, sure. I'll try some dragon fruit.
Oh, that's so good.
It was great. It was great. Well, I don't know what lesson I don't think this guy's learning any lessons, honestly.
Yeah.
He's like got 2 kids from 2 different women. He was like, I was at the Broad earlier, got a date, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you telling me this? Staying at a nice hotel, all that bragging, talking about money, giving me products. And he's one of the only guys on the face of the planet who, after all that, might not feel stupid.
Yeah.
He might leave that and be like, I sold 2 guys today. He's just like, some people are so bullheaded they're not processing anything.
They don't like have the capacity for that self-awareness.
I don't think it's ever gonna hit him.
Yeah.
Where he's like, well, I had 2 hard, one hard sell, and then Ben Solomon showed up. He wasn't thrilled. Sold him 2. Yeah. I'm just selling guys.
Baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And people have asked me like, did you get his number? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna ask this. He has to pay for 3 people now. I'm gonna ask him for his fucking number. Then he'll track me down and get money or kill me. What the hell is he?
Request you?
Yeah.
He'll be like, Ben, you owe me $80, dude.
Yeah. No thanks. And as we were eating, I was like, I can't pay for this. Like, I don't want to pay for this. I don't know how expensive this glass of wine. I mean, he had a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
That didn't look cheap. It was pretty good though. So you've never had anything like that happen to you?
No, not like that. Oh, that's funny.
I mean, after that, I do want to hear more about your story. Talk about and maybe we can segue into more. If there's anything that comes to mind, we'll discuss it. But if you guys we do Q&A a lot of the time.
Oh.
A lot of dating Q&A.
Oh, okay.
Lifestyle Q&A.
I have a lot of boyfriends right now.
Do you?
Yeah. None of them know I exist.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So you're like spying on people?
Yeah. It got kind of creepy this week.
And you're doing it online.
Yeah.
That's funny because dudes do that constantly.
Yeah.
It's very rare that women discuss that, and they're just probably not being honest about it.
Oh, no, I think women are they're like, well, we got to find, here's the thing. There's a lot of creeps and weirdos out there.
Sure.
So you have to do your research.
Homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, these are not like, I have like, creeps and weirdos in my DMs all the time having conversations with themselves.
Well, also, we should mention that you're huge on TikTok now for a specific kind of video.
Yeah.
Which is, do you want to explain what?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, here's
I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Here's the first thing that what really got me a small following was I have really long arm hair that I'll share with you. This is my Italian side. I have very long arm hair. So I posted a TikTok that was like, look at that. That's like 3 inches.
That's pretty insane.
Yeah. I posted a TikTok. I'm like in my car and it's like Italian girls when they're having a bad day. And I'm like,
Yeah, I've seen that. It's
or
funny.
a bad hair day. A
Yeah,
bad hair day.
that's funny.
And it like blew up, and then I did another like arm hair one, and then I was like being cheeky at work, and I was like, ooh, someone, I don't even think I had anyone videotape it for me. It was just a slow brunch shift, and I put my phone, and my jeans are so tight at work, which you can never get me to wear one of those loose jeans. You know, the loose jeans that LA women wear.
Well, no, it's cyclical. I don't know how old you are, but like
like Jinko jeans.
Well, it's like 90s stuff.
Yeah.
Like Nirvana used to wear these jeans that like you could fit 3 people in.
Right.
And those are popular again.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called, but they're these young kids who don't identify as a gender. They're all wearing these jeans that are like, I wouldn't even know what gender you are because you're hiding it in the jeans.
Right. Well, I moved to LA and I was like, well, all these, but even like I'll see like hot girl, like hot hosts that work at my restaurant. I'm like, she's gorgeous.
Wearing
and then I see her
pants.
from behind and I'm like, you're wearing my father's New Balances with what look like my father's jeans. And that.
No, I do feel like in the later 2000s, young, hot, cool people are just trying to find ways to look ugly for some reason.
That's what I feel like all LA fashion is.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, LA and New York are like the two prototypical places where they're like a little ahead.
Yeah.
I bet that's going to hit Chicago. That'll hit.
Maybe, yeah.
My girlfriend's from Wisconsin. Like they're going to get everything 20 years late. They're going to be.
They just found skinny jeans.
No, I think that's kind of what's happening. They're wearing skinny jeans. They're like, aren't these? And I'm like, you're 15 years behind.
Yeah.
At least. But there's going to be people wearing Jinko, like gigantic parachute pants.
Yeah.
In 2035.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's what happens.
Yeah, totally. No,
So
totally.
this is what's really cool right now, which looks insane, but it is cool for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I just think it's so gross looking. Like
Doesn't
I'm like,
look-
oh,
good.
that does you no
But
favors.
I think before you moved here, everybody was trying to dress like the world's youngest grandma.
Oh, I've seen some.
Putting like pins in their hair and dyeing it gray.
My sister told me about that. I remember she's like, oh, everyone in LA is dyeing their hair gray. And I'm like, ew,
wearing
why?
mom jeans that show off a fupa. And it's like, I didn't need to see their fupa. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's the huge jeans.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Well, I will never be sold on the large jeans. Also, my butt's way too nice to be hidden. And if I had to get jeans that are big enough to hide my ass, like I don't have very long legs. I have I'm only 5'3". Like I have like a long torso and like short stumpy legs. Like I would look like a gremlin. I don't even know. Like,
well, it's like, why would you intentionally look worse than you could? Why would you ever do that? But people are doing that currently. Yeah.
I sometimes feel like people in LA just like wake up and they're like, how fucking stupid can I look today?
Yeah.
And then they go out in the world like that. And I'm like, why?
I've seen people.
Did
you see Uncut Gems? Have you seen
No.
it? No. Okay, it's a great movie, but the female lead in it is very attractive. You guys seen it? No. What's her name? No. You're not. Standard Kelvin. He's like someone else. Look her. She's not famous, but she was just in this movie. She's like a socialite. She was dating Kanye West for a while.
Oh, Julia Fox.
Yes. You know
She's
who
like
she is.
Uncut Gems.
That's
the only thing I know about-
that
yeah.
went viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems.
Yeah. So she is unquestionably attractive. There's no question.
Yeah.
She's hot.
And she wears the craziest.
Well, now she used to look good intentionally because she does look good, and now she's like I'm past sex. I don't like sex is so lame. Now I just want to like do ayahuasca and like lose my mind. And as she's saying this, it's like she shaved her eyebrows, and there's there's like a thing over her eyebrow. She's trying to look hideous.
Yeah.
The goal is to look like an alien for some reason.
Yeah.
But I for some reason like that's cool now.
Yeah, which is crazy. I did ayahuasca last weekend.
Oh, really?
And instead of being ugly, I'm like, I need to put more effort into the way I look. I need to feel better about myself when I go out in public.
Wait a second. Where did you do ayahuasca?
My sister does it all the time.
Got it.
So I went with her.
I wish I lived with your sister. This sounds great.
It's pretty nice.
So you went and did ayahuasca where?
It's like an hour north of LA.
Okay. Where
And-
Calvin lives. Northridge?
No, I don't really know.
Okay, whatever.
But it's it's like a church that you sit and I don't know. I also feel I'm like, am I allowed to tell people this? Like I know I can, but like it's.
I have a friend who just did it too. He keeps talking about it. It's like really annoying.
It is like life changing.
He goes, well, after my, I'm like, shut up.
His awakening.
After my, I'm like, yeah, I don't. He's like, I think I need to be doing like group yoga class. I'm like, that's who gives a fuck?
Yeah. No, you like go and you sit with like 30 other people and everyone's dressed in white. It's very like like cult chic.
Yeah, like you're joining a cult.
Yeah. And then there's like an altar and we like say prayer. There's like prayers and songs. A lot of it's in Portuguese because it's a Brazilian.
Yeah. South American thing. Yeah.
And there's like fun dancing and lots of purging. Everyone gets their own purge bucket.
For vomiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
just wanted to clarify what a purge bucket was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You throw up into it. Which like, and then everyone's like, oh yeah, I could never. I don't like throwing up. And it's like, yeah, no one likes throwing up. I'm not like, oh, my favorite part. You know, like.
But you're also like losing your mind. Are you even processing the vomit?
I mean, yeah, it's very like, there's parts where you're like, holy shit. And then there's parts like, if you like open your eyes and you like stand up, because my biggest concern is I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to shit my pants. And they were like, you're not going to shit your pants. If you feel like you have to go to the bathroom, you just get up and go. And you're very like with it. So you're not like, and it kind of, the medicine like comes and goes and like in phases. So like you take the first cup and then you lay in your like little area with like a face mask on, like an eye mask, so that you're like in complete darkness. And you just lay there for like the first like 45 minutes. And you listen to the playlist and, you know, sometimes people will like purge and they'll be like, oh, it's very like visual. And you like, the last time I did it, I didn't have like much. I didn't feel the medicine a lot at first, the first day.
You're using all the terminology, which is good. Purging,
which I used to make fun of my sister for, and she's like, oh, I'm sitting in ceremony. And I was like, okay. And she's like, the medicine. And I'm like, okay.
Now you're saying it.
Yeah. Because now I'm like, oh, I've done it. The shaman and his partner, who's just like this absolute goddess, I'm just like obsessed with both of them. And they're just like wonderful and loving and magic. And I'm like, oh, okay, I respect what they're doing. And now I'm like, it's like, oh yeah, this is, and like the fact that I can like, you know, you like feel these deep things and you like have all this like crazy, I don't even know if it's like realizations or healing, whatever you're like feeling, you're like, oh, this isn't crazy and made up. And like, yeah, there's people that are like, I'm enlightened now. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know this. I could feel this way. Cause I'm like, oh, the first time I did it, I was like in the medicine and I wrote down, I was like, this bitch brought me to church. And I was like, I hate church. Why did she bring me here? And I was also sat with my jaw on the floor. I was like, because I didn't know what I was watching.
Couldn't believe what was happening.
Like, they practice mediumship where they like let angels like move through them. So they'll be like, and you're like, what? I was like, is someone possessed? What's going on? But it's so crazy. But then like after doing it, you're like, oh, this is just what it is. And it's just in this space and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like while I use the terminology because I respect it now, I am not a douchebag, you know? Like I don't feel...
Well, yeah, you're not going to develop like a complex, like an ego-based thing. Like I'm better than everybody because I did this.
Yeah.
That can happen.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Well, like other people ask me about it and I'm like, they're like, oh, I want to do it, but I'm scared. Or like, oh, I want to do it with this. Or like, oh, I don't want to do it because I'm afraid of puking. And to that, it's like my dad actually went and came to LA and did it with my sister a few months ago.
That happens a lot.
And he hasn't puked in like 50 years. And it's like, he's like very proud of it. He's like, you guys throw up when you're hungover. That's disgraceful. I haven't hung out or thrown up.
Dad's from Chicago.
Dad's from Chicago.
What did he do? Like, I want a picture of this guy doing ayahuasca. You know what I mean?
He is like a 5'9",
Italian,
full head of hair, Italian man who has never done any drug in his life.
Yeah.
He'll drink from time to time.
He looks like Mario.
Little bit. No mustache, but yeah. He went in with an open mind and he came out and he was like, oh, that was really cool. Yeah, I'd like to do that again. That was really wonderful.
Yeah.
And it was so cute. And my mom was very like hesitant because she won't do it. And she was like very hesitant. And then like a week after my dad went home, I called my mom and I was like, how's the new and improved dad? And she goes, oh my God, it's so wonderful. I wish he did this years ago.
Wow.
Because he just had like a new outlook on like being a good husband and being like more loving. And
Well, you've been doing the same stuff. You've probably they've been together for a
they've
long
been
time.
together since they were like 16 years old.
You get into weird habits.
Yeah.
You get lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So it was like a beautiful thing for them. And yeah, and I'm like, ooh, I have a lot of stuff to like look at. Also, a lot of comedians do ayahuasca.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of famous comedians.
No, Aaron Rodgers did it and had one of the worst seasons of his life. That, that happens.
Yeah, so it's like
This is off mic, so they can't hear. The question was, how do you take it? Like,
Okay,
what's
so
the
it's-
delivery system?
yeah, so it's
Yeah, the bucket's for purging.
the
right,
buckets for
vomiting,
purging.
right?
So you
Yeah.
like go up and you take, it's a liquid. It's kind of like a syrup consistency. So first you go up and you take the vine, and you're only drinking like a quarter of an ounce. And the vine is like the part of the plant that like helps you feel more relaxed. So that by itself, you don't feel anything. But when you mix it with the, I forget what the other half of it's called.
No idea.
You do that like a half hour later. Then like once everyone gets the vine, and then you like sit down, you say your intention, and then everyone like gets up and does like the first cup. And again, you're doing maybe half an ounce, and you take it and you go sit down, and you have your bucket there if you need it. You have like Kleenex by you have like a notebook, you have water, and you just like put your mask on and you lay there. You might have like visions, you might have like stuff like that. You might purge, you might not. And then everyone kind of like starts to like take their masks off, and it gets more like communal. Like it's like he'll like say a prayer, like do a song or whatever. And then we get up and we do the second cup, and it's like a little bit less.
What does it taste like?
It tastes like elderberry syrup.
Oh, so it's like really
It's-
sweet.
No, it's like bitter.
I'm thinking of the wrong thing. What am I thinking of?
It's like cough syrup or like something.
Okay.
It's like a thicker consistency than
Interesting.
like
What color is it?
it's like brown.
I'm picturing like green brown.
It's brown.
dirt.
Yeah, like brownish. It's like brown.
Okay, but it's like syrup.
Yeah, it's like not super thick, but it's enough that like when you take it, they put a little bit of water in the Dixie cup so you could like swirl it and get that last little bit.
Okay.
And they have like little like fruits you can like chase it with, but you don't eat for like hours before you do it. So all the purge is also like it's just the medicine and like liquid coming up, and it's not like regular throw up. Like there's not like you're not going to see like your dinner in there from last night.
Right,
It's
did
not like
anybody mess up and like eat Indian buffet before.
no, and that's the other. Everyone takes it very seriously. So
Yeah.
like, there's no like, yeah, it's not like gross throw up. It's not fun when you're like listening to people being like,
Yeah.
but it also
But you're not smelling distinct foods. or-
no,
yeah,
it
any of that,
smells
yeah.
like the medicine. It's very like. Not everybody. It
Question
just
is-
it depends person to person. It just the first time I ever did it, I didn't throw up, but I threw up the second day. Second time, I threw up both days. This past time, I only threw up the second day. I mean, it's like my dad never thrown up. He's probably not going to throw up. The shaman's wife, she never throws up when she does it. So she
How many days do you do it for?
2.
2 days.
Yeah, it's like a Friday.
Weekend.
Yeah, it's like a fun little weekend
Yeah,
getaway.
just vomit all weekend.
Yeah, you're like putting in 8 hours. Put in 8 hours of healing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I would love to do it. I do know people who think that they're like the coolest people ever afterwards, and that makes me not want to do it.
Right. There is, yeah.
I figured it all out, and then they're at a wedding giving like a 30-minute toast, and I'm like, you didn't figure.
Yeah.
You might have done worse damage for yourself.
Yeah.
I know one guy in particular.
You sound like you're talking
Yeah.
about someone very specific.
I went to a wedding in Wisconsin, and this guy, I had done a lot of ayahuasca. I'd never met him before.
Mm-hmm.
He hugged me for at least 2 minutes, which is bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, good, and he's like holding me, and then it's his brother getting married.
Mm-hmm.
His turn to do the toast. He's like, yeah, so I'm doing more farming. I'm like, why the fuck are you talking about farming? He's like telling us where his life is.
yeah.
It's the other guy's wedding.
Yeah.
And then after him, he's talking about all this stuff that's going on with him. I figured that he's quoting Alan Watts. It was like it was insane. At the end, he goes, and and let's give it up for my brother.
No.
Brutal. And I'm just like, I wanted to do ayahuasca until I saw this guy,
Yeah.
have the most inflated ego possible. But I know that that's not true for everybody.
Yeah,
I think it helps people a lot.
It's very helpful.
I know drug addicts do it a lot.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, like any medicines, like plant medicine, like that can be like so helpful for PTSD and like OCD and like trauma that you didn't even know you had. Super crazy, super cool. But the first time I did it too, one of my intentions, I was like, I want to let go of some judgment that I have on myself and others, because I walk into a room and I'm like, that person sucks. Her hair extensions are fucking gross.
That's funny.
Like this person's.
Well, you're talking to the right person.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can't. That's the only thing I've ever done.
Right. So I walked in and there was this one woman in particular who I was just like, this woman fucking sucks. And during one of the
You're speaking my language.
yeah, and I would like, and even like the second time too, I was like, I was like whispering to my sister, I'm like, my friend Vinny would fucking hate this guy. And like, so anytime the guy would talk, I was like, I can't wait to tell Vinny about this. Like, you're still yourself, you know?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I had a big realization the second time I did it. I was like making myself laugh so much that I was like, you know, I'm like, am I doing the right thing by doing comedy? But I was like, Liz, you're so fucking funny. And I was like, it doesn't matter if other people think you're funny. And I was like,
well, you're able to step outside of yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I was like making myself laugh and I'm like, this is just good enough for me. I was like, this is so enjoyable.
That's cool.
And I was like, I'm like, are people going to know what I'm talking about when I joke about this? Are they going to relate to this? What do people want to hear? And I'm like, no.
It's for you.
Comes from in here.
That's a great realization, and it's so easy to slip into that when you're trying to. Turning this into a full blown career, you do have to worry about what other people think on some level.
Yeah.
But in reality, the only way to get there is to kind of quiet those voices.
Yeah.
Right. And it sounds like you had that realization while vomiting and shitting. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Shitting in the toilet, not in my pants. yeah. I just,
Well, you're becoming the best comic you can be, and you're just like,
exactly. Yeah.
No, I think it sounds really cool. And I do know some people. Actually, my best friend, the guy who's doing yoga now, thanks to ayahuasca, his brother lives in Mexico at a recovery center where they do ayahuasca treatments along with other. Yeah, and that's why he was out there, because this guy. His whole job is to help people through ayahuasca ceremonies. That's all that they do. And it's like, but also, I don't know. There's always the other side of the coin, of course. It's like this state of the art facility. There's all these, they like put you in a pool and they like treat you like you're being, they like take you through the motions of being in the womb or something.
Interesting.
And it's supposed to be some amazing therapy where you're a 35-year-old Oxycontin addict who's like, no, I'm being reborn. Yeah. Some guy with a turban on has like flipped you upside down underwater and you're like, I'm a child. You know? Meanwhile, and people are spending thousands of dollars to do this. It's not cheap. That's the other crazy. If ayahuasca costs $30, I would do it now. Mm-hmm. But you have to like invest a lot of time and money.
But I also, it's, a few $100s, but I also think.
Oh, really? To do it up there at the church?
Yeah.
I would do that.
But it is such an investment in yourself too. And I think it stops a lot of people that are like, I might just go fuck around and do ayahuasca this weekend. Cause it's like, no, you
can't do that.
If you don't take it seriously, like get the fuck out. It's a complete
waste.
Yeah.
If it's under $500, okay. It's under $700. That's a lot of money.
I'm lucky enough that my sister contributes
I would still,
to
like
me.
if and this is not even that relevant, but it is just because we're talking about money. I bet on horse races, and I actually
That's so random.
I made $500 last weekend. Like
nice.
if I have a good weekend,
maybe
I'll do some ayahuasca.
Put it in your fund.
Yeah.
Put it in your ayahuasca savings.
Yeah. I actually lived on that last year. Like I made $13,000 in November and December. Yeah. That's a whole other thing. But I should have invested that in ayahuasca instead of just blowing it like a moron. No, it's cool. It is cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I've been hearing from my buddy about this, and you've done it a bunch recently. Mm-hmm. And I think people are interested in it. There's no question.
Yeah. Well, and it's so like...
It's very popular right now.
It is very popular.
I feel like I'm on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like people talk about stuff like this, no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like if you've never done it, you have a lot of questions about it.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
100%.
what? And all you hear is like, I have to throw up in front of people and shit my pants. And it's like, that's the smallest part of what you're actually doing.
Well, and anyone who's there is fully committed. They're probably accepting the.
Oh my God. The love that you feel between these people. And it's not a very like, it is interactive. Like there are times when you are like, not interacting in a weird way where it's like, okay, find a partner, because that's like my like worst
it.
nightmare. But it is
I
like,
hate icebreakers.
oh, yeah,
It's like one of my least favorite things.
yeah, it's very much like not like that.
Cool.
But there is like
Say
parts where
5
like
things about you. Doing that while
yeah,
vomiting.
no. This is like you say your intention at the beginning, and then at the end of the second day, everyone gets a minute and a half to like share what their experience was. And some people share like some really deep stuff.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, this terrible, awful thing that happened to me when I was 5 years old. I was able to take a look at it from a non-judgmental view and like accept it and move on and grow from it. And you're like, whoa.
Amazing.
And then some people are like, I'm enlightened. Or like I got to play.
Yeah,
I hate that
that's
phrase.
really
I
funny.
think that's so, I want to punch people.
Their
that are
hair
like,
was normal, and now it's like 8 inches longer and in a bun on their head. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, it's,
I have more questions.
yeah,
too.
go ahead.
Do people sleep? You sleep there?
Yeah. So like at the end of, so Friday you start at like 4 o'clock or something, or like 5 o'clock,
Okay.
and it goes till like 2 a.m. And then everybody, it's like, there's a house where like it's like some healer guy that lives there, and he rents it out to the church to do it. So it's not like the ceremony space, but people like bring like fold out like sleeping bags and stuff. You kind of sleep on the floor or whatever. You rough it,
But you're probably like
you're so exhausted that you're like, I'm just going to lay right
sleep
here.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you wake up, and everyone brings like snacks to share with everyone. And then in the morning you eat like, some fruit or some like toast or something. And then you start around like 10:30 the next day. So you finish like by Saturday night. Some people go home Saturday night.
Some people stay.
Some people stay. We always stay the second night because it's like
Kind of dangerous.
you don't want to drive.
driving
Yeah.
after that. Yeah.
And last time it was really rainy, so we were
Yes.
like, we don't want to
Yeah.
drive home.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Do you guys have questions? More? If you think of it as we're going,
Just raise your hand.
I'll give you. Well, I do want people to be able to hear you ask the question, so I'm going to hand you the mic when you ask the question. Because Calvin asked questions, but yes, and if you think of a dating question, we'll do that in a second too. It is pretty insane to go from this to talking about your.
Well, I was going to
storing
say
stuff
now things that really matter is my TikTok.
Yeah,
that-
exactly. Yeah.
Talk about healing. Yeah, I was at the bar one day, and I took up, my jeans are so tight. And my coworkers are like, Liz, how do you even fit things in your pockets? Your jeans are so tight. They're like painted on kind of. And I put a bar spoon underneath my butt cheek. I was like, I wonder if I could hold this.
Long spoon
that you like stir cocktails with. And I put it underneath my butt cheek. So it was like sitting horizontally. And then I took a video of me, I grabbed the spoon out of my butt cheek and I stir. And it like fucking blew
Exploded.
up on TikTok. I got like 6.8 million views.
That's insane.
So then I doubled down. I was like, what else can I put underneath my butt cheek? I'm like looking around, but I can only do it during like a slow brunch shift because I can't do it like if we're busy at night. And I'm like, hold on, I'm just gonna. Thank you for your credit card. Mind if I borrow this for a second? Yeah. So sorry.
No.
So yeah, and then I just like would put things up in my butt cheeks.
And it's doing well.
It's doing well.
What kind of messages? What kind of
I get
comments?
a lot of weird. So I'm very proud of myself. I don't read comments on
It's good. I try not to.
Instagram or TikTok.
It gets ugly.
Some comics like double down and they'll like
Comment back.
screenshot and like put them on their story and use it as
can't
like
do
their
that.
promo for their next thing. It makes me so. There's some that like get through and you're just like, oh, and you're like, why does this? I did a stupid TikTok about like people who don't tip bartenders. And it's like, I don't care if you don't tip, but like, don't go out then. And someone was like, my presence should be enough of a tip. And also my friend who's like he's blown up on TikTok and Instagram and all that. And he's like, oh, if you leave a video response to that person's
It'll do
message,
well.
the algorithm will like pick up the video and stuff. So I'm like, anything for the numbers.
Sure.
So then I'm like making videos in response to stupid people, like people who can't spell, who can't, like they're and it's just like, and then I find myself getting in like these, like, I'm like, this is upsetting me and it shouldn't, because this person isn't even like,
well, yeah, the guy's like, my present, and it's just like a 7-year-old. Like you don't know who it is.
well, it's like I'm not even nice to the celebrities that come into the bar. Like, you think I'm gonna be nice to you, you fucking dork, you know?
He's obviously he's just trying to piss you off. He doesn't even mean what he's saying.
Right. And so some people will comment like, my arm hair upsets a lot of people. Which is so fun. That's like one thing that I'm like, oh, I've had it my whole life.
Yeah.
I've been called a German Shepherd, which I'm like, that's not even creative. I'm not even very German.
Now, are you keeping it for comedy purposes?
No, I just keep it because like it's just body hair.
Yeah.
And like I'm not like what I'm gonna shave. Like I already have enough
Waxing
body
your
hair
hair,
to like
yeah,
take
sure.
it. Like I shave my armpits and my
Yeah, sure,
legs
sure.
and a bikini wax if I'm gonna be on a beach. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not shaving my arm hair. So a
neither
guy
here
on the
nor
internet
there.
thinks because he thinks I'm gross.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's like so much work. And
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm a little bit hairy everywhere. So it's like if I stopped at my arms, it's like, well, then I'd have to go all the way up.
Yeah.
Well, then I have like a little bit of peach fuzz on my back and I'd have to get my back waxed. And like, I'm not,
Never ending.
no. And like
Okay.
for a man, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me. I'm not.
I remember my question. Oh, here. Ayahuasca?
Yeah.
All right, we got an ayahuasca question.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the whole ayahuasca retreat, you mentioned like you see the people and you're like, okay, this person fucking sucks. But then you end up loving those people like when you go through it and you feel the love. So do you end up forming like long-term like friendships with these people? Are you still close to them? Or are you just like, all right, see you later?
That is a good question. Some people like the lady who came in and was like, I was like, I hate that lady. And the second day she was like holding her purge bucket and she was like, bleh, and then missed her bucket, didn't make it in at all. And I was like, this bitch sucks. And then after, what's funny is like my sister's very like close to these people. I'm like a step back from these people. So it's like when I see them at the ceremonies, I'm like, oh, good to see you again. And I'll talk to them, most of them. And then there's people like that where like me and my sister will be on the drive home and I'm like, how about that fucking bitch? And she's like, yeah, she sucks. She never makes it in the bucket. Like she always needs someone to like help her take out a content. Like she's very needy, you know? And there was actually an instance the last ceremony where there's like someone makes soup at the end of each night. Like someone comes, they like make soup before the ceremony and then they like hand it out at the end. And the guy doing the soup just was not very friendly. And so they were like, hey Liz, can you help with
That's
the
just
soup?
a funny sentence too.
Ugh,
The guy doing the soup was not very friendly.
he was a soup Nazi. It was like,
bizarre. How was he acting? What was he doing?
he was, okay, so I was like, also, I was very, like, I'm uncomfortable. My sister and her boyfriend actually came
Okay.
to do it too. So they were staying not in the house with everyone, but they were staying like in this little house up the hill. So she was like, all right, we're going to go like change and like whatever. And I was like, oh, don't leave me alone with all these people. Just because that's a me thing. I'm like,
Sure.
I don't want to have to make conversation,
You're
you
hanging out
know?
with this bunch of spiritual gurus.
Yeah, it's like I'll go throw up next to them, but like I don't want to have to talk to them.
long conversation.
Yeah.
Or they're just like staring at you too long.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, really? And you're just like, you don't care this much.
The thing is, like, they do care. I had two of them be like, your videos are so funny online. And I was like, thank you.
That's cool. So they knew you from before?
Yeah, some of them
Okay.
I knew. The one guy I had never met, but he's like, oh, you're Catherine's sister. You're the comedian. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you're really funny. And I was like, because if I do anything, if I like post any clips or whatever about like ayahuasca or,
Yeah.
like, or my sister, she'll reshare them.
Got it.
And so like this group of people will see me on her thing.
So it is a community. People know
It
each
is,
other.
yeah. Oh, totally. But like the people, like this soup guy, I was like chopping, and like I have a lot of experience cooking. I have like cooked for families and meal prepped and stuff like that. And this guy was like, and I was like scraping chopped up red pepper, just chopping it up. And he was like, oh, when you use the knife, when you're moving it on the board, you want to use the back of the knife. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, oh, and I'd put them into like a bowl that he put next to me. So I like put them in that bowl and he's like, oh, that was for the trash. And I was like, okay, well, it's all going to the same, like it was a clean bowl. I was like, well, it's all going in the soup. Does it matter which bowl it went into? And then he's like, and you have to take out the seeds. There was one seed and I was like, I was also triggered for many reasons, but I started to cry and I was like, I need to go. And I was like, this guy fucking sucks. And like 3 people had to come like talk me off the ledge in the bedroom. And they're like, yeah, he does this every single time. He's a crazy soup guy.
And you're in a vulnerable state.
Yeah. I'm just like sensitive
Yeah.
and like, I don't like being around that many people. And I was
Yeah.
just like, and then he's criticizing. And it's like, no, I know how to cook, dude. And everyone else is like, yeah, he did that to me yesterday when I was helping with the soup. And I was like, why is he allowed to do the soup?
Yeah, it's very funny. This guy's like, why is he wearing a white cloak and doing ayahuasca? Why is this asshole hanging out here?
Well, what's so crazy is like when you're sitting there at the end of it, when everyone's like sharing their like what they got, then you like hear, he's like, oh, I was, my parents, not abandoned me, but like they were like, he was like, oh, I was like emotionally abused by my parents or like something like thing like that. And you're like, that's why you're like that.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like, it brings in a level of like understanding why people are the way they are. Or like the people, there's like women who come in with like their noses done and their hair dyed and their lips huge and all these like fillers and fake boobs and fake butts and all this. And they come in and you're like, ugh, this fake ass bitch. And they're like, oh, I don't know how to love myself. And you're like,
oh,
that's why you're here. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you don't accept yourself. And that's why you've changed your.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like. So it is like a fun little like peek into like people's minds and why they are like that.
Well, yeah, and I think we probably both do the same thing. It's so easy to just face value judge somebody.
Yeah,
and
that's
then,
my favorite thing to do is judge people.
I do it all the time.
Right?
Same here. But you don't get the backstory.
Yeah. And this is like opening up the hood, seeing what we got.
This is why I'm a spiritual douchebag. Everybody used to wear those spiritual guru shirts. You remember that?
Like spiritual gangster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gangster. Sorry. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Those people, some of those people are probably there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle that.
It is. You have to get over a certain level of.
Well, it's good. It makes you process why you're judging. Maybe you shouldn't. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, it's because I judge myself so harshly, and that's why I do that to other people.
Yeah, of course. You try to hold people to the standard you hold yourself to.
Yeah.
And some of them, have fake mouths, and you shouldn't do that. Okay. You got another question? Here we go. Bam.
Yeah. So how is it? I'm kind of from out of LA. I'm like northeast of here for about like 2 hours. But yeah, how is the dating scene? You mentioned you had guys in your DMs. Was that on Tinder or is that on Bumble?
No, I'm not on.
Or is that like on Instagram and TikTok? Or?
On Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
And Twitter, of all places. I don't even have a Twitter following. And I'm like, how are these guys finding me on here? Yeah. But I've noticed like the same guys that'll be in my Instagram DMs will also be in my Twitter DMs. And I'm like, did you think I was going to like look here?
They're just tracking everything.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm very like easy to find. And I'm like, Giz Zamboni, that's me. But yeah, so I'll have like guys in my DMs and I'm like, ugh. And I'll like post and I'll be like, oh, I want a guy to date me. And they'll be like, me. And it's like, if I wanted to date you, trust me, I would have made my move guy in my DM. Like they're like, give me a chance. And I'm like, yeah, you think I'm holding out on you? Like, no, that's like, also it's like the guys that, slide into my DMs, they're just like all like gross. And when I posted the Italian stuff, I get a lot of like military-ish, like Italian American, like Blue Lives Matters kind of.
Sure.
Like they have the, and I'm like, this is not my audience.
Red Italians.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, and they'll be like, that's what a lady should be doing. And I'm like, oh, I don't want you to be my, like, thank you for your support, but like, I don't believe in any of the things you believe in. So there's like people like that. But so I am creepy on my own. Okay. So I like go through phases where I'm like,
about that at the beginning. Yeah.
So like, I'll literally be like, am I asexual because I'm not attracted to anyone? And I'm like, everyone in LA is fucking ugly. I'm just like, I can't, or everyone's like an actor and they're so full of themselves. And even if I see like a hot guy and I'll be like, ooh, he'll come into the bar and I go to serve him and I'm like, oh, this guy is the worst guy I've ever.
Totally.
I'm like, I despise this person and all I said was 2 words to them, So now I'm in like a, I think maybe it's the ayahuasca that like opened my heart a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I'm open to going on dates again. I also only went on like 2 dates ever here.
Bad?
One was really fun. It was with a comedian.
Okay.
Who's like further along in his career than me. He was very funny.
Yeah.
Very fun. We had a great time. We made out.
Okay.
And then we like kind of went on a second date, but like I was going out of town the next day. So we just like went to Roger Room and like had a few drinks. And then he like drove me home and it was just more like friendly.
Got it.
So it was like, we follow each other on Instagram and he's very funny. And I'm like, oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
Another guy I got like catfished by, he was like a TV producer who didn't even live here. He lived in Vegas. He was like here working on like a Food Network thing. And I showed up and he was like 50 pounds heavier than his pictures.
Yeah.
And he also like day of had deleted his Bumble. And I was like, hey, just making sure, because he was very like upfront about everything and be like, hey, do you have any dietary restrictions? Does this restaurant work for you? It's in the middle of both of us. Like very like thoughtful and like, how about this time, this place? And I was like, wow, this guy's really taking initiative.
Also, that seems like that's to me that's a red flag too.
What, being like respectful and like,
yeah, it's not good. No, but like, do you dietary restrictions? What about this place? What do you think about that? It's like I feel like he's covering something up.
50 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Well, I got there and also he was wearing like a sloppy sweatshirt and he was like, sorry, I've been on set all day. And I was like, okay. And I was like, we didn't have to come somewhere
Yeah.
nice then. We could have like met at a dive bar and had a beer.
There was a lot of food on set.
Yeah. And so we literally just like talked about like TV and like comedy and he's like, I love to order a lot of things for the table. And I was like, I know. And we did. We ate and it was delicious and like got a little buzz and
Yeah.
like we hugged goodbye and we never
Nothing.
messaged after that or anything. It was understood that there was no attraction.
Yeah.
So that was nice. And then there was another comedian I went out with like once and I was like, oh, you love cocaine. So that nothing ever happened with that. But so that like
He was doing coke the whole time.
like one time like we were like had like gone out and then like I haven't been with a man in a really long time and I
Yeah.
was like, let's just go back to your house. Or he's like, what's the next move, everybody? And I was like, it's a Tuesday night. Like I was like, let's go back to your house.
Well,
He's like,
was everybody just you?
no, it was like after a comedy show.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So like there was people there, but
Yeah.
everyone else is like, yeah, I'm not drinking tonight. Yeah, I'm going home.
Tuesday night in Los
It's
Angeles.
a Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And I was like, we can go back to your house. And he was like, yeah, we'll go to my house and then we'll go to the bar down the street. And I was like, yeah, or we just go back to
Yeah.
your, I was like, I'm literally making this so easy
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Like I couldn't put my vagina on a silver platter and hand it to you. And we get to his house and he invited a friend over and then I just watched them do coke till 2 a.m. And I was like, look, I know I didn't want to date this guy, but like now I don't even want to fuck you.
Right.
And I was like, I was like, your dick's not going to get hard anyways, but
come back. We'll do some coke. We'll go out again.
yeah.
Yeah.
And for like a week or two, I was like, I'd still keep making out with him. And then I was just like, he's not even like he's
He
whatever.
just wants you around while he does coke.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. It was just like weird. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. But then, so I went into a coffee shop at my house the other day and fell in love with a barista.
You're checking this guy out online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I told everyone about him. And I'm very open with everything I do on Instagram. I just like post everything I do because I'm just like,
Oh, so you posted about this guy.
oh yeah. I was like, I have a barista boyfriend. Really excited about it. And so my friend helped me. We went to the coffee shop's Instagram page and I was able to find him because he was in one of the pictures. And then I searched him and found his Instagram, but it's like, I don't know his name in real life. So I couldn't like pretend it. So I'm just like,
People pretend they don't do this.
everybody does this.
Everybody does this.
Everybody does this.
I've scanned websites.
Yeah.
And I've gone to like the company that they work for and look through their entire Instagram.
You're
and you
like
find
on their LinkedIn.
There's one photo that's like they're kind of in and they're and then I know everything about them.
Yeah. You have to.
Yeah.
There's crazy people out
I
there.
know their age. I know their like.
That's not that weird to know.
It's a little weird to know like the day they were born.
Yeah.
Like I can find
You're
that
like,
immediately.
so you're a Pisces, aren't
yeah,
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So then I did that. And then last week, a guy came up to me at the gym. We were working out like very close together. And normally I don't like anyone talking to me when I'm at the gym unless they're like a very hot man. So then I was like, and he was like, hey, you're really strong. And I was like, thank you. and then I was like, oh my God, you guys, I have a gym boyfriend. I don't know how to break it to my barista boyfriend. Neither of them know I exist. But actually the barista, we had a little like fun back and forth.
Online?
No, in person.
Okay.
I went back a second time and a third time.
Do these people find out about the online stuff
He doesn't, I mean, he could easily be looking me up.
and seeing
He
that
has,
you're,
I mean, I pay with my credit card that
So
has
no-
my first and last name on it.
but there's no discussion.
No.
Okay.
No, like our interaction was literally like the first time it was like, oh, thank you. And the second time I ordered it with pistachio milk. my lattes
Interesting.
because they have it there. And I'm like, oh, I've never had pistachio
Yeah, sure.
milk. So I got it.
Yeah.
And then he's like doing it and he's like, it's really hard to make art with pistachio milk. And he puts it down. And instead of, it's usually like that beautiful little like flower,
Yeah.
it looked like a weird little penis. And I was like, oh, it's like a weird little penis. And then he laughed and I was like, I kind of like that more. And then we had a good, and we're
Well,
like,
you opened the door. He was like, oh, I have a weird little penis.
yeah, exactly. I was like, show me. And so we like had this little like flirtatious like back and forth. And
Yeah.
actually after that is when I like got in my car and I was like, everybody, I have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so then the third time I went in there, I had my dog with me and she had her new tie-dye. I can't pay my bills, but my dog got a new sweatshirt because she just looks so cute. So she's wearing her like too big for her like tie-dye sweatshirt and we like walk in and anytime she walks into a coffee place for the first time or anytime, she like rolls around on the floor because she like loves the smell and just like wants to get it all over her. And then I like go up and order my coffee and he didn't even make my coffee, someone else did. And then they put it there and he's like, Liz, and I was like, thank you. And he was standing right there and he was like, seeing your dog made my day. And I was like, when's the wedding? Just like, and so he was like, can she have treats? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, they're not like, he's like, I wish I had like good quality treats to give her, which is like so thoughtful too.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're just kind of like, whatever dog treats, but like, would she like some? And I was like, she would love some, thank you. And he puts them in the little cup and then these two women walk up and they're like, your dog is so cute. And I'm like, beat it, ladies.
Yeah.
But they did cock block me.
Dogs are great for men to pick up women. Probably a little harder the other
It
way.
is.
Yeah.
I was like, man, no. Yeah, it's hard out here.
I used to borrow my parents' dog when I was like 18 and just like go hang out outside of bars. It's the best. It was fantastic.
It's like, oh, can I pay your
and
dog?
I'm just like, yeah, let's go in my car.
Yeah, my dog loves watching me get blowjobs.
Yeah, you'll be quiet.
But yeah, so and then who's my third boyfriend again? Oh, and then I was subbing a yoga class at
Okay.
Core Power in Hollywood, and I was
So
sitting.
you teach yoga too?
I do teach
Okay,
yoga, yeah.
cool.
And I was.
Very LA. You should be here.
Thank you.
You're bartending at like a cool place. You teach yoga.
I
You
do
just did ayahuasca. It's as LA as it
I
gets.
am LA.
Yeah, the only thing that your roots, the only roots you're maintaining are literally the roots of hair in your arm.
Keeps me humble, honestly.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at the front desk and the class before the one I was subbing had
Yeah.
just gotten out and this guy walked out and he looks kind of like my ex who's like 6'5", gorgeous, whatever, like Aquaman looking guy.
Okay.
And this guy is like walking out and he like looks back and we like locked eyes for a second and I was like, my jaw dropped and I was like, whew. And he left. And I was like, I got to find out who that is. So I went to the roster and I looked at, and this is like probably illegal or there's probably
Yeah,
like
sure.
rules against this, but I went through and I wrote down every man's name.
Oh my
'Cause I
God.
also didn't want to be like searching these people like
No.
while I was in the building. I
course.
was like, this feels wrong. I'll write these
Separate-
down on a Post-it and
Yeah.
take it home with me.
That's smart, actually.
Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah.
Don't put it online.
And luckily he
In
was
the
like,
cloud.
yeah. He
Yeah.
was like the fourth person I looked up on Instagram and I was like, that's him. Of course he's an actor. So I'm like, ugh, he's probably stupid or something.
Yeah, but that's,
But he's so hot. And I was
yeah.
like, ugh. And then I have such a type too.
That's part of living in LA. You have sex with a dumb actor.
Yeah.
And until you're fed up with them.
And I haven't even begun.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes you live with them and it gets ugly. I've done that.
so then I had found his Instagram. I had Barista's Instagram and I'm like showing my coworkers and I'm like, you guys, look at this is blah, blah, this. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. Where's the other guy? I go, no, these are two different guys. And they were like, I thought that was the same guy. You have such a type. And I was like, at least I'm consistent. So
That's cool.
And my mom called me today and she's like, my mom does this thing where she tries to hook me up with celebrities, but it's like, she doesn't know that. Like,
That's funny.
It's not how it works, Mom.
Yeah.
Like she'll be like, when I was living in Chicago, she'd be like, there's a Blackhawks player you should date. He's single. He's like 33. He'd be great for you. And I'm like, okay, give me his number. And she's like, well, I don't have his. And I'm like, well, how do you think I'm gonna? Don't you think every single girl is like trying to
That's
also?
Parents think that connections. It might be the generation they grew up in. They think connections can just happen. My mom sent me an article about a woman who went to the same college that I went to, who's a producer for Barry, and she's like, "Why don't you email her?" I'm like, "I don't have her fucking email. I can't find it. It won't work."
It's also so cute, like. Or even like my girlfriends, they'll be like, oh, this famous person did this. And I'm like, oh yeah, so-and-so works out at my gym. And they're like, what? Did you talk to him? And I'm like, no. That'd be so weird if I went up and they're like, ask him if you can be in their movie. And it's like, that's not how it works.
It's weird to make eye contact.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say hi.
The rule is you have to pretend like you don't even see them.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Jeremy Piven.
Yeah.
What's up?
Oh, he comes into my
He's
restaurant sometimes.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
He used to work at a gym that I used to work out at a gym that I worked at, and he was horrible to everybody.
That's what I hear. I hear he's such
Just
an
a
asshole.
douche.
Yeah.
And he got away with me tooing someone somehow.
Ew.
Yeah.
Hate him.
He's pretty rough.
Yeah.
I heard he used to ask trainers, he'd go, hey, can you hold mitts for me? Like to box? And he would just wail. He'd just go in, gah, 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 and then walk away.
What?
Yeah.
So he's a psycho.
Yeah.
Oh my
He would
gosh.
hurt their hands, almost hit them, screaming, and then just be like, okay, see, and like they're inhuman, you know? Like he's hitting a punching, like the person who works there is a bag that he hit.
You know what else I've heard?
About Jeremy Piven?
I've
He's spreading
seen-
rumors. He does comedy now.
Yeah.
Because his show, he had like a crime show that got canceled because he jizzed on some lady's dress. Yeah, that's really what happened.
That's hilarious.
During
Not
the
hilarious. That's really
He
sad.
had a show on CBS during the Me Too movement. Canceled.
Not in the show, right? Like in real life.
There was an article in the New York Times about it.
Wow, what
Yeah.
a piece of shit. He also goes to the bathroom at the restaurant and doesn't wash his hands after.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's even worse.
Yeah, that's
Actually, years ago, before I was moving to Chicago,
because there's a sink. The bathrooms at my restaurant are like individual stalls, but everyone washes their hands at the same, it's a universal like tub thing. You wash your hands. He walked right back to his table like a sick fuck.
I've been hearing stories about this guy for a decade.
Let's cancel him.
Yeah. Oh, he's already
Let's re-cancel him.
Well, and that's the joke. Stand-up comedy is one of the only things that you can get canceled into. He started stand-up because he's not allowed to act anymore.
And then I'm sure he's like one of those like, I tell it like it is comedians.
I literally saw him at the Laugh Factory. This is years ago, but I saw him at the Laugh Factory. The mic came unplugged. This is how little stand-up he's done. He didn't know how to plug it back in.
No.
So he's performing at the Laugh Factory. And he's like, I'm going a cappella. I'm like, dude, you don't know how to fucking plug you're not going a cappella. You don't know how to plug it in. And he's nervous because he's never done it before. He's like,
Oh
brand new
my
to stand-up.
gosh, yeah.
But when I was like 22, I was about to move to Chicago, and I mentioned that, and some guy's like, "Oh yeah, Chicago's crazy, man." Jeremy Piven rides around on a reclining bike and like looks at is an eye line with women's butts and goes and tells him he's in Entourage, and I'm just like, I've been hearing stories about this dude for 11 years, nothing good.
Also, like, what a fucking dork who rides a reclining
He's riding
bike.
a reclining bike around Chicago and literally like hitting on women into their vagina, you know.
That's so weird.
But
and
the
funny.
stories never end with him.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing good for almost my entire adult life about this guy. Seeing him in person, it's not good.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, so it's great having you on. We usually end with a segment. I'm trying to get Chris, who does like some video editing for me sometimes, to do a segment called Ben Changed My Life. That should be a banner down here. It should play a song that I have. I have it already. I've emailed it to him, and I keep going, hey, why wasn't Ben Changed My Life in the episode? He goes, I didn't get I sent the fucking email. So I'm hoping we can do that this time. Do you have a dating question? Do you have anything? Oh, fuck Kelvin. If anybody, do you have anything that comes to mind? If it's dating specific, lifestyle, if there's anything, I would love to do the Ben Changed My Life thing. We kind of already addressed it a little with like dating in LA, but if there is there anything? I'm getting a lot of blank stares in the room so far.
Yeah. So like,
Bam, down here.
so it's like in LA is the hookup culture like pretty prevalent, and like Did you say you had Tinder and all those apps and stuff like that?
I have Bumble and Hinge, but it's like I go on them so little that by the time I look back at it, if I swiped right on anyone on Bumble, it's been expired. And Hinge, only ugly boys like me. So I'm not like active on there enough to where I like sometimes if I'm really bored and I've like already timed out on Instagram and Facebook for the day, I'm like, I guess I'll look at a dating app. But like my heart's not in it, you know? And neither is my pussy. I'm not even trying to fuck these guys.
Is there more to that question?
Yeah, so do you just meet people usually like at bars? Like I just recently, last night, I discovered Furley's and then went to No Vacancy and Dirty Laundry for the first time. So where are you usually going to like meet people?
Literally
If you're going
nowhere.
out.
I don't
Nowhere.
meet people. Yeah.
Yeah.
If something comes to mind, you can ask. But is hookup culture prevalent? Where do you go to meet people? And it sounds like your answer is just to all of that is no.
Yeah, I'm literally celibate right now because I have not found anyone in LA that I would let inside me.
Yeah, I get it. Hookup culture, I think is so. I've been.
I'm sure it's prevalent. I'm not someone who can like hook up and like be cool. It's like we're hooking up. You're my boyfriend now.
Right.
And I've accidentally gotten into relationships like that. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I didn't
sure.
even want to date this person. How'd this happen? So.
I mean, I can answer from my experience before I was dating my girlfriend. What I've noticed for men, at least, is that there's so many attractive women in LA. Mm-hmm. Is there a duck here? Oh, no, that's a child. Okay, I think. Yeah, is there a duck human hybrid in the apartment building? That was insane.
That was crazy.
Yeah. That's like the pig person, from Twilight Zone. Yeah. So like I've been here for almost 6 years, been with my girlfriend for 3. I was single and living with, I lived with a girl for a bit who it didn't go well, but some hooking up, some dating. My experience is, it's as a man, it is so easy to bat out of your league in Los Angeles because there's so many hot women and there's a lot of
with
women
low self-esteem.
Well, so the women were probably on average like very attractive wherever they were before. They moved here, self-esteem drops.
Yeah.
They're auditioning. No, people. Fuck you. You can't be in the movie.
You'll never work in this town again.
and they're just like, please, will someone love me? And then they're like. A guy who normally would be like a B- becomes an A- because they're like, I've lost my will to live. I was a cheerleader. I have nothing. So I've hooked up with before women who were just like way more attractive than anybody I was hooking up with before I moved here because there's like a desperation and a loneliness.
The median has just moved up to like hot.
And in a city like New York, there are plenty of attractive people, but there are plenty of people who aren't that attractive. Everyone's just kind of smushed together. And there's so many people that you're constantly running into people. And I think that allows your standards to stay high. In LA, people are isolated. They're in their cars. They're going to work. So when they actually meet someone who's actually interested, they're just like, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'll date this guy who's like kind of a piece of shit. I don't really like him. I don't respect, but I'm just going to stick with it because I got nothing else.
Yeah.
So my experience was like, honestly, for a dude in LA, pretty fun. Because you can do stuff you just can't do in other places.
Like anal.
Yeah. Anal when also like, there's all these, you end up having a story where you're like, I just like met, and I'm going on a date with a woman who I saw in Liar Liar. You hook up with people on the way down too. It's like
I can see that.
Remember the hot woman in Liar Liar in the elevator? I'm about to go have sex with her. She looks like shit now. But I remember her in Liar Liar.
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking of who she used to be. There was some of that too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, with Liar Liar Lady, Liar Liar Lady, I had on multiple podcasts, scheduled dates. Nothing ever happened with her, but it felt like it was bound to happen. Definitely flirtatious over text, meeting in person, all this kind of stuff.
How old is she?
She's like 75. No. She's probably like late 40s now.
Okay, I was gonna say it seems like because you're like my age.
Yeah,
early 30s.
I'm 33. Yeah. Remember you're the boob lady in the elevator? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know what she's up to now, but 5-6 years ago, I thought I was about to hook up with her. Do you remember? Here's another one. This is the only one. We'll end the episode. We might cut this. I'm about to get married. I don't know why I'm saying any of this.
Oh my god! Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. End of April, we're getting married.
God.
Yeah. My girlfriend also likes this stuff. I was saying this earlier. I was catering an event, and a woman gave me her number at the event, and I told my girlfriend, and she's like, "So what are you gonna do?" And I'm just like, "Throw it out." And she's just like, "No, you should." I'm just like, "What's going on with you? You want me to capitalize on it? Yeah. What the fuck is your plan? Like, do you want me to have sex with her and tell you about like what? If you do, I would consider that, but just tell me."
Yeah.
And she's just like, "You should, yeah, go." I'm like, "This is not good." Yeah, that's her, Krista Allen, right? Does it say the name? Yeah, we can cut the name. Yeah, she was doing comedy. That's how I met her. She was like dabbling with stand-up, which again, very hot women on the decline in LA. No big surprise. You might see them at a really bad show.
Yeah.
Doing stand-up that makes no sense. But there was one. So this is a very long story, but I was working as a personal trainer at Equinox when I moved here. And in the interview actually for that job, I said, they said, "Why do you think you'd fit in?" And I said, I don't think I fit in. And they hired me.
Wow.
Completely insane.
Authentic.
That's LA in a nutshell though. It's like, no, I don't want to do this. And they're like, "We got to get that guy."
That's so funny.
But when I was doing that, I ran into this woman this black lady who wanted private sessions. And then it turned out she was actually the woman, she was a rapper, female rapper who, do you remember we're in our 30s, so we might recall this, but like Ice Cube had a song called Put Your Back Into, You Can Do It, Put Your Back. Remember the female rapper in that? There's a female part.
Yeah.
It was her.
Wow.
And I ended up training her privately and having sex with her after sessions. And I was
That's very LA of you.
Yeah, I'm just like, I was like, and also she didn't pay. So she paid with intercourse. So I'm basically training a woman for sex who doesn't look as good as she did when she did this big music video back in the day. So that felt very LA. And that's someone, I mean, again, she's on her way down, but if I'm living in Chicago, I'm living in New Jersey, I'm not hitting, that's not happening.
Yeah.
That's an LA thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually used to do that in my building. I used to live in Sherman Oaks with 3 19-year-old girls too. That happened in my building's gym. This building, does it have a gym?
This story's getting weirder and weirder.
Yeah, so I was just like having, anyone could have walked in at any time. And I just didn't give a fuck.
Wow.
Yeah, so those are things that can happen in LA that I don't think can happen anywhere else. And again, if you heard everything I said over the last 5 minutes, you're like, I don't know if I want that to happen. You're right. It's like kind of sad and weird, but it can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see like celebrities on like Twitter or something, and I'm like Ryan Felipe. I'm like, he seems attainable.
Yeah, he loves Tim Dillon.
Oh, does he?
I've heard he's like a huge fan of the Tim Dillon, and he's like an original fan before Tim Dillon was big. And that seems kind of insane that this guy who was like a outright movie star, very famous, on the cover of People magazine, is like, I love this guy. He's like a fish out of water in LA, like what a weird choice.
Yeah.
He's listening to comedy podcasts. He's online. He's accessible. You could get to him.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna. Just kidding.
Well, then, isn't he married to Reese
I don't
Witherspoon?
know. I never. No, I think they're divorced.
Okay, but they had a kid.
I don't know. I don't follow a lot of that
They
stuff.
have for Witherspoon, they have a little weird mixture kid.
Mixture kid. Fine, I'll stick to whoever my mom
Why not?
recommend. My mom, the Instagram account my mom emailed to me today.
I'm off the market. Follow in my footsteps and get people who used to be so attractive.
Yeah.
Down here now.
Yeah.
That's the way to go. And then you just you can brag to people and they're like, "Is that good?"
They're like, "Who?"
Yeah. I don't know who that is and it doesn't sound good.
They're like, I think recognize that name.
Vaguely. Why did you do that?
They're like, are you okay?
Yeah, this sounds bad.
Oh.
All right. We should do plugs. Do you want to plug your TikTok, Instagram, anything
Sure.
else? Shows?
Yes, actually, I run a monthly show at the North End in Hollywood the first Monday of every month called Bitch and Purge, and it is service industry storytelling.
Oh, cool.
And I talk about all those dumb bitches that come into the bar that I hate.
I shouldn't. It's desperate of me to ask, but can I tell my Fogo de Chao story?
Yes, actually, yes. I
Yeah,
would love to
that'd
have
be
you on
fun.
for that.
Yeah.
Done. Yes.
That's the only story I would ever have.
Yeah, that's well, a lot of comics will try to get on and I'm like, you have to tell service stories.
And they don't have
And
it.
they'll be like, yeah, I guess that's the only story I had. So dating's weird. And I'm
they
like,
go,
no, that's
yeah.
not the rules of the show.
They do their regular
They do
acts.
regular material, yeah, and
that's
I'm
not
like-
good. I've tried to do that at storytelling shows, and I'm like, I can like meld things, and it just does not work.
Yeah.
I've disappointed people.
People feel like they're being like you're trying to pull a fast one on them too, because
Yeah.
it's like he's telling us jokes. We wanted a story.
Yeah. They want it
Totally.
drawn out. They want it to come to a full circle at the
Yeah.
end. And you're just like, yeah, so that's fun. Hey, what's up? You're just like this desperate guy
Like,
dancing
anyone
around.
else from Cleveland? Yeah.
Yeah, that's never good.
Yeah. But yeah, Bitch and Purge, first Monday of the month at the North End in Hollywood. And then you can follow me on Instagram at Liz Zagone or on Twitter at Jiz Zamboni. And on TikTok, I think it's Liz Zagone.
Okay. That's the biggest. You got to push that one. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Well, I don't
Or
spend
maybe
time on
it
TikTok.
pushes itself, I guess.
Yeah.
TikTok's, if it works, it's great for people.
I post.
Yeah.
I just keep posting.
Smart.
But I never spend time on there
You
because I'm
should-
like, I find all of you just insufferable.
It's tough. YouTube's really bad too. I get the worst comments on YouTube.
I don't even look at YouTube comments. I forget
yeah.
that I have it. I just once in a while push a short out and I'm
Very
like,
smart.
I don't even